This demo presents features of the IBARM impact analysis facilities. Impact analysis is about analyzing the impact of changes to your application. Dependencies between programs, classes, databases, etc. are assessed to determine the consequences of a change. IBARM extracts these dependencies from the application source code and presents them in various textual and graphical formats to allow impacts to be assessed. The first level of impact analysis is presented via the relationships view, which you're looking at now. In this view, objects related to the selected object are presented. So in this example, for the selected program, it is executed by one JCL job, one JCL proc. It calls one program. It accesses 2 files, 1 database table, and 5 database columns. The same information can be viewed graphically via the relationships diagram. Related objects can be thought of as upstream or downstream. Upstream objects invoke or act upon the selected object. In this case, the JCL job and the JCL proc execute the selected program. Downstream objects are invoked or acted upon by the selected object. So the program calls this program, accesses 2 files, 5 columns, and 1 database table. The relationships views can be thought of as a local view around the selected object. Extended relationships can be provided via views such as the call tree view. The call tree view starts from the selected object and extends both upstream and downstream. In this example, we can see that the program is invoked by a load module upstream to the JCL proc, to a JCL job, and then up to the job scheduler. So we can see the extended relationships from the program through to other impacted objects upstream. It's a fairly simple call tree, but it does display the concept of the upstream relationships. Here's a more complex example. In this example, we can see that upstream, this program has relationships to, it's invoked by 2 programs, 2 procs, but downstream, it is very complex. It invokes several programs, and those programs invoke several other programs, and so on. So you can see it's a very complex downstream call tree in this particular example. Jobs and scripts can be initiated via job scheduling tools. These tools introduce scheduling dependencies that can be viewed via the dependency diagram. So here's an example of a JCL job, and I'm starting with the relationships diagram again, and I can see the triggering relationships. I can see it's triggered by one job. It triggers one job, and it is the predecessor of another job. We go to the scheduler summary and then to the dependency diagram. In the dependency diagram, we can see the upstream and downstream scheduling dependencies related to this job. Downstream, or we can see it's triggered by one job, it triggers one job, is the predecessor of another job, and then downstream we can see the other jobs that are triggered, and upstream we can see the jobs that are triggered prior to this job. So they are the the upstream part of the job stream in this case. So again, the upstream and downstream dependencies and impacts can be assessed via the dependency diagram. There are also data dependencies that can be assessed via IBARM. Starting with the program, we can see in the relationship page, we can see the data that is accessed by a program. We can see the files, database, tables, columns. If we go to the data access view, we can see the types of data access. In this case, the creates, reads, updates, and deletes against those various objects. If we select the table, at the table level, we can see all of the objects that are accessing that table. In the data access view for the table, the types of data access are available. So again, the reads, updates, deletes, selects, etc. can be viewed against this specific database table. In addition, another view is available called the Extended Impact View. And the Extended Impact View extends from the database table through the copybook that defines it, the programs that use it, the type of data accesses are indicated here. Then we extend, the Extended Impact View extends to the load module, to the transactions, and back to the jobs that invoke, that impact or will act upon that database table. So if there is a change to this database table, the Extended Impact View provides a huge amount of information in terms of the programs that are impacted, as well as the jobs, transactions, etc., that need to be tested for that database change. Looking at some more database impacts. Here we're looking at an Oracle database schema, and the relationship view of the schema indicates that it has 91 database tables. To see a little more about those impacts, we can look at the physical data model diagram. And here the tables are shown and the relationships are shown between the tables based on the primary key and foreign key relationships. And if I right-click on one of the tables and look at the physical data model view for the table, here we can see the physical data model view at the table level, the tables, the columns, the primary keys, the foreign keys, and the related tables are all available via the physical data model view. In addition, the database summary view provides a little more in-depth relationships around the foreign keys and primary keys. In the database summary, we can see the columns, the indexes, the foreign keys, the tables that those foreign keys reference, the primary key, and the tables that are referencing into the primary key. Another example of database or data dependencies are triggering dependencies. So database triggers can be fired off typically when there's an insert or an update done against a particular table. In this case, this trigger accesses another table, the security table. So one of the views that's available is called the trigger tree. And here we can see that the database trigger is fired on insert or update to the research coverage table. And then that trigger causes an update to happen to the security table. Now, this type of triggering relationship can be very complex, where the triggers can have a large number of upstream and downstream impacts that can be viewed here via the trigger tree. Looking at some Java relationships. So I'm going to select a package, a Java package, which contains a number of classes. Select one of the classes here. And again, the relationship diagram or the relationship page presents the first level impacts on that Java class. We can see that it calls several methods. It accesses several database tables. It references a number of other classes. It also references a program in this case, and it inherits from another Java class. So there are a number of relationships going on here. We can see some of these via diagrams. The call tree diagram shows the Java class invoking programs. In this case, it's a front-end Java class that invokes a back-end program to do data accesses. We can also look at the inheritance diagram, and here the inheritance between classes is shown. So we can see the client agent service inherits from the base service class, which inherits from the service locator class. So these are some of the examples of the impact analysis capabilities that are available within IBARM.